Forced out of office, America's top cop turning in his resignation letter today. The ups and downs of his relationship with President Trump.
Now we are here, ready to govern, ready to legislate and navigate and investigate.
Flipping the 49th, the promise from the Democrat taking over Darrell Iss's seat.
It comes down to individuals that I saw yesterday evening standing in line. They were all pretty much jovial. Some of them were ordering pizza.
Beating expectations, all the voters who showed up to make their voices heard for the midterm elections. KPBS Evening Edition starts right now. Good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Susan Murphy. President Trump forced the nation's top cop to resign today. As AP reporter Walter Ratliff explains, the departure of Jeff Sessions marks the end of a stormy relationship with the commander-in-chief.
Donald, welcome.
Jeff Sessions and President Donald Trump used to be close, sharing both a friendship and an ideology.
I am pleased to endorse Donald Trump for the presidency of the United States.
Sessions had risked his reputation when he became the first U.S. senator to endorse the celebrity businessman. His early backing helped Trump's effort to be seen as a legitimate candidate.
Of the office upon which I'm about to enter.
Nearly a year after his endorsement, Sessions raised his hand in the Oval Office, becoming the nation's 84th Attorney General, the country's top law enforcement officer.
Hey, thank you.
A cloud of suspicion about Russian meddling in the election hung over the Trump presidency from the very beginning.
And nothing but the truth, so help you God.
In his confirmation hearings, Sessions said he didn't meet with Russian officials.
And I did not have communications with the Russians.
But a few weeks into his tenure, reports emerged that Sessions met with the Russian ambassador to the United States during the campaign. At the time, Trump expressed his continued support of Sessions.
Mr. President, do you still have confidence in the Attorney General? Total.
Sessions soon recused himself from any campaign investigations.
I should not be involved investigating a campaign I had a role in.
Trump seethed about Sessions' decision for months, publicly venting on Twitter against him while musing privately about firing Sessions.
I told you before, I'm very disappointed with the Attorney General, but we will see what happens. Time will tell. Time will tell.
In a series of tweets, Trump called Sessions beleaguered, criticizing him for not investigating Democratic nominee Hillary Clinton. Trump viewed Sessions' recusal as disloyal, arguably a grievous offense for this president, and a move that led to the end of his short career as Attorney General. Walter Ratliff, The Associated Press.
With the 2018 midterm election behind him, President Trump this morning acknowledged Democrats taking back the House, but emphasized Republican gains in the Senate.
It was a big day yesterday, an incredible day. And last night, the Republican Party defied history to expand our Senate majority while significantly beating expectations in the House for the midterm and midterm year.
The president talked about working with Democrats in the House in a bipartisan way.
Hopefully we can all work together next year to continue delivering for the American people, including on economic growth, infrastructure, trade, lowering the cost of prescription drugs. These are some of the things that the Democrats do want to work on, and I really believe we'll be able to do that. I think we're going to have a lot of reason to do it.
But the president got testy with a few reporters, saying a PBS NewsHour correspondent's question was racist and calling a CNN reporter, who he's clashed with before, a terrible person.
You should let me run the country. You run CNN.
All right.
And if you did it well, your ratings
Let
would
me
be
ask,
much better.
if I may ask one other question. Mr. President,
that's
I was going to ask one of the other folks.
That's enough.
Pardon me, ma'am. Mr. President,
that's enough.
Mr. President, I had one other question, if I may ask, on the Russia investigation. Are you concerned that you may have
I'm not concerned about anything with the Russian investigation because it's a hoax. That's enough. Put down the mic.
Mr. President, are you worried about indictments coming down in this investigation? Mr. President.
I'll tell you what, CNN should be ashamed of itself having you working for them. You are a rude, terrible person. You shouldn't be working for CNN. Go ahead.
There are some people that say that now the Republican Party is seen as supporting white nationalists because of your rhetoric. What do you make of that?
I don't believe it. I don't know. Why do I have my highest poll numbers ever with African Americans? Why do I have among the highest poll numbers with African Americans? I mean, why do I have my highest poll numbers? That's such a racist question. Honestly, I mean, I know you have it written down and you're going to tell me. Let me tell you, it's a racist question.
House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi could be in for a title change. She's expected to run for Speaker when the Democrats take over the majority next year.
I heard the president say, I deserve to be the Speaker. I don't think anybody deserves anything. It's not about what you have done. It's what you can do. What you have done in the past speaks to your credentials, but it's about what you can do. And I think I'm the best person to go forward to unify, to negotiate. I'm a good negotiator.
Pelosi says she's looking forward to working on bipartisan legislation, but that Democrats would act as a check and balance on the Republican president. In California, Governor Jerry Brown will hand over the reins to his lieutenant governor. Democrat Gavin Newsom beat San Diego challenger John Cox. But today, Brown celebrated what he called a successful midterm election in that his top priority, defending the state's recent gas tax increase, won.
Look, this is about building for the future. The other people want to say, just think about what you're paying. They don't want to say, well, what are we buying? And we're buying the future. We're buying safety, buying bridge overpasses, holding up in an earthquake. So I think it was honest. It was good. And obviously the losers will want to complain.
Backers of Proposition 6, that was the effort to repeal the gas tax, say they'll start a recall campaign against California Attorney General Javier Becerra, claiming the language he used to describe the measure was misleading. Gavin Newsom will be the Golden State's 40th governor, and a linchpin of his agenda is reviving the California dream. KPBS reporter Amitha Sharma joins me to discuss the fading dream and what Newsom plans to do about it. Amitha, the California dream took center stage in the governor's race. Why?
Because for some time now, that dream has been in big trouble. California has become this big contradiction. It's the richest state in the country. It has the world's 5th largest economy. Its state gross product is $2.7 trillion, but at the same time, Susan, it has the highest poverty rate in the country. It has the highest number of children living in poverty. It has the highest number of seniors living in poverty. People are skipping meals in order to make ends meet. People are delaying medical treatment in order to save money. A typical home in the state now costs over $600,000. Apartment rents are going through the roof, and the middle class is shrinking. So yes, California is home to this amazing tech industry. It has these great tech giants. It's got Hollywood, but at the same time, Californians are hurting. And all of this served as a giant backdrop to the gubernatorial election.
And so what is Newsom's plan to repair the dream?
Well, for starters, he says he wants to tackle childhood poverty by focusing on prenatal care and Head Start and universal preschool. On the homelessness front, he has talked about hiring an agency director and bringing that person into his cabinet to come up with ways of getting people off the street. He also wants to streamline all the social services that treat homeless people in this state. On the housing front, Newsom says that he wants to get 3.5 million housing units built in California over the next decade or so by offering a series of incentives like boosting tax credits from $85 million to $500 million, and also using disincentives like withholding tax dollars from communities whom he says are not doing enough to encourage more housing construction. Newsom has also set his sights on universal health health care for all Californians, including undocumented immigrants. The big question hovering over all of this is, where's the money going to come from? On the one hand, Newsom says, look, I want to be fiscally wise. I want to preserve our $9 billion surplus, if not grow it. He's thinking that some financing can come from these partnerships between local government and the feds. But he's also cautioning Californians, don't get your hopes up. Not all of this change is going to happen overnight.
Okay, Amita Sharma, thank you.
Thank you, Susan.
Democrat Mike Levin declared victory in the 49th congressional race, replacing longtime Republican Congressman Darrell Issa. KPBS North County reporter Allison St. John was at Levin's campaign headquarters last night.
The 49th was the only congressional district in San Diego to change hands last night. It changed from red to blue. It was the culmination of nearly 2 years of work by the Flip the 49th campaign, which began protesting outside Darrell Issa's office soon after President Donald Trump was elected. Democrat Mike Levin addressed his supporters late last night at the Del Mar Hilton.
But now we are here, ready to govern, ready to legislate and navigate and investigate, just as those founders commanded us to do, ready to make Congress great again.
Levin raised 4 times as much money as his opponent, Republican Diane Harkey. Harkey failed to get financial support from her own party in Washington, D.C., and was dogged by allegations related to her involvement with financial fraud at her husband's investment company. Levin's win in the 49th means that 4 out of 5 of San Diego's congressional seats are now held by Democrats. The last remaining Republican, Congressman Duncan Hunter in the 50th district, has been indicted for misuse of campaign funds for personal use. Toward the end of the night, Levin told his supporters that Issa, who has held the 49th congressional seat for the past 18 years, called him to congratulate him on his victory. Allison St. John, KPBS News.
Congressman Duncan Hunter has been re-elected to represent the 50th congressional district with 54% of the vote. KPBS reporter Priya Sridhar has the story.
I think it really dilutes the message.
It was Duncan Hunter's closest race since he was elected to Congress in 2008. This year, dealing with a federal indictment on the campaign trail.
Feeling good.
He faces 60 counts of fraud for allegedly spending $250,000 in campaign funds on personal expenses. But despite that, Hunter received 54% of the votes from his district.
I think ultimately, too, what we have is another example of tribalism in partisan politics in the United States. That folks who are sticking with their political parties, their political candidates, despite sort of the detriments and the sort of incidents and flaws.
Right.
Hunter's campaign used several attack advertisements against his Democratic opponent, Amar Campa-Najjar, falsely claiming that Campa-Najjar changed his name to hide his family's ties to terrorism. Campa-Najjar, a former Obama staffer, raised more money than Hunter by almost $2 million. The 50th district, which includes parts of San Diego and Riverside County, has historically voted for Republican candidates. Today, Hunter's father, who held the seat for 27 years, says his son's record got him reelected.
Hunter saved 50,000 jobs in Qualcomm and the supportive industry. That would have been the biggest industrial loss in the history of San Diego.
If Hunter is convicted on federal charges, he is not required to give up his congressional seat. But if he does, a special election will be held to replace him. Priya Sridhar, KPBS News.
The San Diego County Board of Supervisors is likely to get its first Democrat in 2 years. KPBS Metro reporter Andrew Bowen says Nathan Fletcher holds an immense lead in the 4th District.
Fletcher's election was a top priority of the San Diego County Democratic Party. District 4, which stretches from southeastern San Diego to La Jolla, heavily favors Democrats, and Fletcher consistently outraised and outspent his Republican opponent, retired District Attorney Bonnie Dumanis. Fletcher said last night he saw his apparent victory as a rejection of the Trump agenda creeping into county politics.
But more than that, the voters want to see investment in mental health. They want to see investment in homeless. They want to see investment in housing. They want to see our county focus on clean air and clean water. And those are the priorities of the voters of San Diego. Those are my priorities. And I think it's time the county start moving in that direction.
Republicans had a victory at the county as well. San Marcos Mayor Jim Desmond won his bid for county supervisor in the 5th District in North County. That would make Fletcher the only Democrat on a board of 5 supervisors. And one more win on the Democratic side, county voters widely approved Measure D, which would require November runoffs in all county races. That's likely to give Democrats an edge in the next county elections in 2020. Andrew Bowen, KPBS News.
In the race for the city council seat in District 4, newcomer Monica Montgomery won. We caught up with Montgomery at Golden Hall last night. She talked about how she was moving toward a win without the obvious advantages held by incumbent Myrtle Cole.
It's important to note that, yes, she's an incumbent. She's also the council president. She was also backed by the Democratic Party. She's also backed by Labor. Very, very important. But it shows that the people, if they want better representation, then the people can speak. And that's what this election is saying.
If her leads hold and Montgomery ends up winning the council seat, she says she'll focus on quality of life issues in her Southeast San Diego district. The District 4 race is one of 2 that will lead to a veto-proof supermajority for Democrats on the city council. The other one is the race for District 2. Democrat challenger Jen Campbell won, replacing incumbent Lori Zapp. The wins by Campbell and Montgomery give Democrats a 6-3 majority on the council. That means they could override a veto from Republican Mayor Kevin Faulconer. Officially, the council is a nonpartisan body. In the race to replace termed-out Councilman David Alvarez, his staffer Vivian Moreno is in the lead. She's got about 53% of the vote. Antonio Martinez is trailing behind. Both are progressive Democrats, but in this race, like the Montgomery versus Cole race, the Democratic Party and Labor backed Martinez. We'll update all these results as we get more information from the San Diego County Registrar of Voters. There were 11 mayoral races on the ballot in San Diego County this week. KPBS reporter Matt Hoffman says most contests are being led by mayors seeking re-election.
Of the 11 races, 9 current mayors are set to be re-elected. In the North County, that includes Matt Hall in Carlsbad, Catherine Blakespeare in Encinitas, Sam Abed in Escondido, Steve Voss in Poway, and Judy Ritter in Vista. Other mayors currently winning re-election campaigns include Mary Salas in Chula Vista, Bill Wells in El Cajon, Serge Dedina in Imperial Beach, and Mark Arapastathis in La Mesa.
I'm the current mayor of the city of San Marcos.
In San Marcos, current mayor Jim Desmond is leaving for the County Board of Supervisors. Current Vice Mayor Rebecca Jones is the leading candidate to replace him. In National City, current Mayor Ron Morrison is terming out after 12 years in office. Councilmember Alejandra Sotelo Solis is leading to replace him.
Good morning. How are you? Good. Thank you for voting.
As of Wednesday, the County Registrar of Voters says there are still nearly 500,000 ballots left to be counted. That could have an impact in places like Escondido, where Mayor Abed only has a slight advantage. Matt Hoffman, KPBS News.
San Diego State University's president is thanking city residents who backed Measure G. KPBS reporter Eric Anderson has details.
San Diego State University won a major victory at the polls on Tuesday. City voters gave the school a win on SDSU West, or Measure G, and a sound defeat for Soccer City, or Measure E. Now that clears the way for the school to begin negotiating a sale of about 130 acres of city-owned land in Mission Valley. San Diego State University President Adela De La Torre offered a huge thank you to San Diego voters.
I think what it really means is that we are going to have this impressive legacy project that will be developed for the future, for our students, for our faculty, and for our community, so we continue doing the great work that we do.
De La Torre and her team meet with the mayor tomorrow morning. She hopes to complete details of the sale as early as next year and begin construction in 2020. Now, the financial cost to the school is uncertain, but De La Torre hopes tomorrow's meeting helps clear up some of that. The school will work with the CSU system to finance the project. Soccer City officials thanked their supporters and said in published reports today that they believe that the city's chance to land a soccer team, a professional soccer team, is now gone. Eric Anderson, KPBS News.
Voters appear to have given San Diego Unified a passing grade on Tuesday. The district's incumbents, Kevin Beiser and Michael McQuarrie, and its construction bond have significant leads, with only mail-in and provisional ballots left to be counted.
I think that this is really a great day for students and kids in San Diego. I mean, the voters voted overwhelmingly to support the San Diego Unified School District and what we're doing because we know we're on the right track.
Several other districts are also feeling the love from voters. All but 2 of the 11 school bonds put before voters appear to have passed. In the South Bay, Sweetwater Union won voter support for its bond, despite recent bad press on a budgeting error that resulted in $30 million in cuts mid-year.
Definitely a big thanks to the voters of South County for believing in schools and for believing in students, and I think we'll have a lot of information coming forward as we go forward, but definitely we'll start seeing some much needed improvements at our schools.
Bond money cannot be used for operations, so it won't restore cuts in Sweetwater. As of this afternoon, bonds in Mountain Empire and Bonsall did not have enough votes to pass. Early numbers show what could be an historic voter turnout for a midterm election across the U.S. We talked to the Registrar of Voters about what that could have made a difference in San Diego.
Every election, it ebbs and flows in terms of the total number of provisional ballots that are cast. In the November 2016 election, we had 115,000 provisional ballots that were cast. We didn't see that many. I don't anticipate that we had that many, but we had somewhere around 90 to 100,000 provisional ballots that we are estimating at this point in time. That's quite a lot, frankly, for a midterm elections. But if you really think about this midterm election, it was historic on many different levels that we haven't really seen. Frankly, it felt like a presidential election with 1.77 million registered voters being registered, many more people registering on the day of the election as well as the days leading up to election.
Thank you so much for voting.
The other thing was we knew that there was going to be a historic number of mail ballots that we had issued, as well as a historic number that would be delivered and returned back to our office. A lot of those mail ballots got returned at one of 1,542 precincts yesterday, and we picked up a lot of those as well. So it's pretty exciting to see the overall turnout for a midterm elections, because it's generally seen as a lower turnout overall election, that many people don't go out and vote, and certainly yesterday was nothing like that. Particularly when you see a presidential election at 81.5%, and then it dips down for the next election. If we looked at the 2014 gubernatorial general election, it was a 44% turnout. To see as many people go out and participate in this election, it was really nice to see. Certainly, there was challenges associated with it, particularly the conditional voter registration aspects of it from an administrative level. But when it comes down to individuals that I saw yesterday evening standing in line, they were all pretty much jovial. Some of them were ordering pizza for their dinner as they were standing in line. And so there was a lot of hype yesterday, a lot of excitement yesterday, and so it's not too difficult to get excited with them.
I'm Judy Woodruff. Tonight on the NewsHour, Jeff Sessions is out as U.S. Attorney General. What it means for the future of the special counsel's investigation into the president. Coming up at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
San Diego will see foggy conditions in night and morning hours. Julia Wyden has details in tonight's forecast.
Hi, good evening. It's going to be a really nice stretch of the next few days that we have ahead of us. Pretty quiet weather. The only concern that we have is for some gusty winds that will, again, just be causing a little bit of an issue. Very typical style Santa Ana event. For tonight in San Diego County, clear skies for the most part. We will get some fog to develop in your very coastal areas, and that could include in the metro itself. Temp tonight dropping down to 61. Chula Vista into the mid-50s, and Oceanside down to 53 degrees. Again, metro area watching that fog develop into the late overnight and early morning hours. Your temp dropping down into the low 60s otherwise. Again, keeping an eye out on those gusty winds that will be coming in from the north and east. That type of offshore flow generally means that we have a lot of warmth building, and I do think we'll see some warmth for the finish of our work week, getting just a touch bit cooler as we head into the weekend. Forecasts for San Diego County, highs are going to mostly be in the 70s and 80s for Thursday. In San Diego, we are looking at a high temp of 76. We'll be at 76 in Oceanside, 77 in Chula Vista, up into the low 80s in Borrego Springs. As we widen out the view for you and focus on the weekend, high pressure is still in control for the west coast, so sky stays dry. It's over towards the central plains and over towards the east coast that will have that more active and unsettled pattern. High temp going to be up to 81 at the coast on Friday, again getting cooler for the weekend, Saturday and Sunday in the low to mid 70s, but plenty of sun still. Low 80s for Thursday, 85 for Friday, farther inland. Saturday and Sunday will be back down to the low 80s. And will cool off a touch in the mountain region as well. Saturday and Sunday in the mid and upper 50s. Forecast for those desert spots. 82 on Thursday, upper 70s for Friday and the weekend. Plenty of sunshine in store. Want to point out that starting on Friday night and lasting through the weekend and into early next week, your overnight lows will be dropping on down into the mid 40s. Back to you, Susan.
Here's a look at what we're working on for tomorrow in the KPBS newsroom. On Morning Edition, Making History, we'll take a closer look at the LGBTQ candidates who are making waves this campaign season. And on Midday Edition, a major upset in the city council races. We'll talk to Monica Montgomery about her win in the District 4 race. That's tomorrow on KPBS Radio. You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thank you for joining us. Have a great evening.